your girl Adriana. I'm sorry that I have not posted on this channel. Well, I really don't post that much anymore, but to be honest, that's because I'm not motivated right now and I'm tired. And this whole Rona situation, I've been working the whole pandemic. It got me exhausted. Like, I'm exhausted. I'm saying oh my mom, I'm sorry. The whole pandemic just has me down to here and just down. It's been making me feel unmotivated and kind of depressed, to be honest. But that aside, one of my friends, Kaylee, I love her to death. One of my really good friends, Kaylee, I've known for a long time. She showed me a Bailey Sarian video on Facebook like about a month ago, and she did stories on murders while doing her makeup. I think she calls it mystery murder makeup or something like that on Mondays. I thought that was really, really cute. I didn't know what to title this, so another shout out to my other friend Lena, who came up with the name Forensic Friday, since I'm only going to be posting these on Fridays. Every Friday, guys, I'm going to be posting something. That being said, I'm really excited for this because I'm obsessed with murder stories, documentaries, and things like that. It just drives me mentally insane. Like, why? In your brain, what was that a good idea? Like, you know, it just drives me crazy. But that being said, I wanted to do it myself. So I wanted to add a little bit of twist of what I've seen. I want to give more of a background. Like, this is the story. This is what the case was. This is what goes on in the case. Like, more factual. I don't know if that's a word. And just get into it, but also add a twist of add a little plot twist of my own opinion and a conclusion on what I feel like could have happened. And I want to also open up the comment section to let people have their own moment to shine and say what they believe as well. So, yeah. That being said, happy Friday, and this is episode 1 of Forensic Fridays. For today's look, I am going to be doing something that's more Cinderella inspired, more whimsical. I'm gonna be using a few palettes here, like these two, and this one. It's one of my favorites. That being said, this for me goes kind of with the theme of this topic. I have my little notes here. And for today's video, the topic I have is the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. This is a murder case that I've been obsessed with for a long time, for about 6 years, since 2015. I've been following it. I've followed all the cases and everything. So a lot of you probably already know this, if not all of you, but it was a case that was showcased on Netflix with a show called The Act. I loved that show, but that show is inaccurate. So if you just saw that show, you don't know all the facts. So yeah, I hope this isn't too late in the game to talk about this, but it's just something I am obsessed with. So here goes. Yeah. First episode, the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. I'm looking at my little notes on the side, and just a side note, I will be I will be adding pictures, inserting pictures within the frame, and also inserting like definitions of syndromes, diseases, just words and stuff up here for you guys in case I talk too fast, because I know I do. So I wanted to say that I'm just gonna give like a little background. On June 14th of 2015, sheriff deputies in Greene County, Missouri, found the body of Claudine Blanchard face down in her bedroom of her own house, on the bed in a pool of blood from stab wounds that had been inflicted on her days prior. And her disabled daughter was missing as well. So police found her on that day, and she was murdered brutally. Nobody knew what happened, and her daughter was also missing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who Dee Dee was, and just kind of go into each person in this case. So Dee Dee was obviously an older woman. She was known as a woman that was pretty troubled She had issues with stealing, and she was also someone that people knew as a manipulator. She manipulated people very easily and got away with it 90% of the time. That being said, she ended up meeting a guy in, it doesn't say when, excuse me, she ended up meeting Rod, which was her daughter Gypsy's father, when she was 24. This is also a really weird fact to me in this story that I've never heard anybody talk about. She was 24 and he was 17. And they were pregnant when he was 17. That was just kind of weird to me that nobody ever talked about that fact. Even if he lied about his age, because it was known that they met at a club that was for 21 and older. Even if he lied, like, wouldn't you know at some point? Whatever. So the two met. She got pregnant with Rose Blanchard, and they got married. Shortly, I'm not gonna say months, but shortly after Gypsy was born, Ron left Dee Dee, which actually her name is Claudine. By the way, I'm so sorry. Claudine, I'm going to be referring to her as Dee Dee because that was the nickname that she had. I don't know how she had it, but so she's going to be Dee Dee throughout the whole video. I'm not going to say Claudine ever again. So that being said, Dee Dee was left, Rob left Dee Dee because he just knew that he married her for the wrong reasons. After a while, the relationship just wasn't popping. So after he left her, and she tried to keep him around, but it wasn't working for him. It was not it. Yeah, it wasn't it for him at this point. So he moved on with his life. And Dee Dee ended up taking their newborn child and living with her family. So he was still trying to be a good dad. He was still seeing Gypsy at this point, even though he had a whole new life. And he was doing the best he can. He was paying child support the whole time. And yeah, he was trying up until Dee Dee ended up moving from her family. It was known that in 1997 that her mother, that Dee Dee probably, she was subject that she probably killed her mother by refusing to feed her and not giving her care that she needed. So that was something that her family accused her of, and that was, never say why, but she ended up moving later on and living with her dad and his stepwife. And in between this time of living with her dad and his stepwife, her stepmom got really, really ill. Gypsy was around 7 years old. Her stepmom got really ill, and nobody knew why, because it's something that came all of a sudden. And they started to notice at this exact time that, you know, at this exact time, Dee Dee had gone to jail for minor things, you know, like stealing. She had a problem with that for a while, and writing post-dated, like, bad checks and stuff like that, and forgery. So she had gone to jail for these things, and within that time, they noticed, like, you know, when Dee Dee is gone, the stepmom feels better. Why is that, you know? So after that, I'm sorry, guys. After that, I can't speak. So after this, they started to make this realization, but around the same time, Dee Dee and her grandfather, Gypsy and her grandfather had a motorcycle accident when Gypsy was around 7 or 8, and that kind of led to Gypsy not walking anymore And it led to Dee Dee going a little hammer, you know, she went a little psycho, and believing that her daughter was ill. You know, her daughter needed multiple surgeries to fix this, for this to ever get better, and for it to be, you know, something that she recovers from. So that being said, around the same time all this stuff was happening to Dee Dee, they started to realize the fact that, you know, her stepmother was getting better when she wasn't around. And the reason why her stepmother was getting better was because Dee Dee was, the reason why she was getting sick is because Dee Dee was poisoning her with weed killer. She was putting weed killer in her food. So when Dee Dee's not around, she can't do that, right? So then she was getting better. So the for the father and the stepmother confronted Dee Dee about this, kind of told them what they believed was happening and like, what's up, you know? And after that, they didn't really say what happened. Dee Dee ended up taking Gypsy and they went to Slidell after this whole confrontation. And the stepmother went back to normal health. So, yeah, I don't know. She went back to normal health and her life was fine. But nobody really ever said much else about that. So then the two moved to Slidell when she was about 8. You know, she's in her wheelchair or whatever. And they're living off of public housing, public assistance, and the child support that Rod is supporting them, the ex-husband. At this point, he's not allowed to see his daughter anymore. Like, he's not allowed to see Gypsy. It's pretty much taken away from him. And Gypsy is basically told that her dad was abusive and her dad is bad. So she doesn't see him no more. Or anymore, I should say. And that kind of was the end of that. He was still paying his $1,200 of child support. That's a whole stimulus check, girl. Wait. He's paying his money and not seeing his kid, even though he kept trying to see her. He would even call her, and Dee Dee would say, you know, oh, she's not available, you know, she's not well, blah, blah, blah. And it just never happened for him. So that being said, they continued their life, you know, going to the Children's Hospital of New Orleans and going to Tulane Medical Center and just going to all of these appointments. Because at this point, Dee Dee is convinced that she's convinced Gypsy that she has all of these health issues. And I'm talking epilepsy, leukemia, muscular dystrophy, respiratory issues, and that she's vision and hearing impaired. This girl even has a feeding tube at this point. She does not live in life, and I don't really blame her if she believed it, because, you know, you believe what your mother says when you're 8 or 6, even 9, 10, whatever. You want to believe your mother. So she's believed that she has all these things. So she's going to all these appointments, and she had probably over 30 surgeries, like taking out they took out her tonsils, I think it was. They took out something. I have to look at my freaking notes. I'm disorganized, y'all. So they ended up taking out, I don't know. They took out something. And they ended up taking out all of her teeth because one rotted. That being said, you know, they're living their life, whatever. At this point, this is when the doctors are aware of her seizures or whatever, because her mother tells the doctors that she has seizures every few months, so they prescribe her anti-seizure medication. It's kind of repulsive to me, but we'll get into that later. At this point with her seizures, several surgeries were performed, just not only to help her seizures, but to just regularly help her, make her feel better. Dee Dee also regularly took Gypsy to the emergency room for minor things. So they were like regulars there. You know, everybody knew Gypsy. Gypsy was it. You know, she was that little child. She was always at the freaking emergency room for everything and anything. But their life was kind of chilling. You know, they were living off everybody, doing their own thing. And it really hit rock bottom for them in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit. And they lost literally everything. Anything these two had was gone. Dunzo. Like, Hurricane Katrina really wiped them out. So after that, they ended up going to a shelter in Covington, set up for individuals with special needs. And because Gypsy had all like these special needs, they accepted her. But at this point, since they had lost everything, that included Gypsy's birth certificate and all of her medical records. So now all that shit was lost too. And it gave her mom an even better way to lie about everything, you know? And so, since they all were destroyed, when she went to the doctor and in Ozarks and asked, like, you know, went for the medical and everything, and they asked for her records and everything to check out Gypsy, she said they had been destroyed, and they had relocated Gypsy and Dee Dee to Missouri, and the next month they were airlifted there due to all the records being gone. And that's where they lived in a rented home in Aurora for a while. And in that time that they lived there, Gypsy was honored by the Ulrey Foundation, which isn't a foundation that advocates for the rights of feeding tube patients. So since she had a feeding tube, she was kind of part of this, and they named her Child of the Year for 2007. And then later on in 2008, Habitat of Humanity built them a small home. It was a cute, small pink home with a wheelchair ramp and a hot tub as part of their larger products on the north side. So you're telling me at this point they've built them a whole ass house that they could have built a different child and a different family that actually needed it and wasn't lying and manipulating the system. Overall, they built them a house. Yeah. That being said, they lived in their cute little pink house, and because this was such a big thing, Dee Dee and Gypsy got so much news, like so much of the media's attention, that they ended up becoming like the society's golden family. You know, it was a society tried to put so much into them. The community was always there for them. They really just helped poor single mother taking care of her child, you know, her child with all of her special needs that's ill and everything like that. So again, they're living their little life. They're happy, whatever, in their house. But things tended to get a little bit weirder at this point. You know, Gypsy's starting to get older, and starting to get a little bit more interested in the male persona, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know why I do it, but like, she starts getting a little interested in dudes. You know, that happens when you're a teen. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, because I should have mentioned this sooner. Dee Dee was lying to Gypsy and everybody about Gypsy's real age. She made her 4 years younger. The girl was born in 1991, and she made her born in 1995. So the girl thought she was 15. The mom told everybody that she was 15 because she was 5 feet. She was tiny, bald, had no teeth, you know, like nobody questioned it. And she was in a wheelchair. Told everybody that this girl was 15. And the girl was actually 19. So around this time, Gypsy starts to kind of spiral out of control, you may say, and kind of look for different things, like on her phone and the computer, and meet different people, you know. And at the same time, she tends to search and realize that she's actually not 15. She's going through her mother's stuff, and she realizes through records and like little medical cards that she's actually 19 years old. And it's kind of confusing for her. Like, why did my mom lie all this time? So at this time, she now knows she's 19 and everything. And it explains a lot of her sexual urges and things that are going on with her. You know, because she has no... Another thing I should have mentioned. This girl stopped going to school around 2nd grade. It might be younger grade than that. But she stopped going to school at this point because she had so many medical issues that she started getting homeschooled by her mother. Who knows how much homeschool she actually got, but she was homeschooled. So So she had no interactions with people. And only interactions she had were like around her mother or people online. So she started going online and she started meeting different people and just chilling. So online, she ended up meeting a guy. They don't really mention him. Actually, they don't mention him at all. And since 2001, this girl, Gypsy, had been going to science fiction and fantasy conventions. And she liked going to them. And she was allowed to go with them because her costume could make her fit in with her wheelchair and all of her side bullshit that her mom made her have. And in 2011, she ended up going to, I keep saying, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm kind of nervous. She went to another one of these conventions in 2011 and tried to escape. This was one of the many escapes that she tried to go through, but this was one of them where she actually left her mother's site and was somewhere. So she tried to escape and she tried to leave with this guy that she met online, and she ended up in a hotel room. Her mother ended up finding her. Excuse me. And this is when it comes to like that her mother made a fake, birth certificate and everything, and ended up showing this guy the birth certificate and telling him like, you know, she's only 15. If you don't leave her alone, I'm going to go to the cops and blah, blah, blah. And the guy ended up just like bouncing. He was like, deuces, you know? And Gypsy ended up going back home and getting in severe trouble for trying to escape. And her mother smashed the computer with a hammer, and she ended up tying Gypsy to the bed for about 2 weeks. And in some of that time, from what Gypsy had said in other interviews, she was not fed. And then she was also hit and just really abused. And her mother also said to her, if you try to leave again, next time I'm going to smash your hands, not the computer. Pretty much like, bitch, if you leave me again, I'm going to be you next time. So she was kind of scared at this point. And, you know, shortly after this incident, Dee Dee ended up going to the police department to file paperwork saying that Gypsy was mentally incompetent and, you know, she just couldn't think by herself, essentially, you know. So at this point, Gypsy was led to believe, if I go to the police, nobody's going to believe me because they think I'm dumb, basically. They think I have no brain in here. They think I can't think for myself. They think I have... They think that I have the mental capacity of a 7-year-old, like my mother's been telling everybody. So if I go to them, nobody's going to believe me, you know? So she kind of chills, you know, let's chill out. And at this point, she ends up going online again, you know, this is like about a year later in 2012. I don't know how she got a new computer or what she did, but homegirl got a new one and has a phone now too. And now that she knows her real age and everything, she kind of does things at nighttime, like eats candies and stuff and eats whatever she wants. That's how her teeth rotted, and that's why they had to get pulled. All of them had to get pulled out because her mother wanted that. But in 2014, Gypsy continued to just go online and do stuff. And she confided in her 23-year-old neighbor about this guy she had met online. She was, again, always online. She had no other human interaction. And this neighbor didn't think Gypsy was her age. Like, Gypsy didn't tell anybody. Gypsy was literally almost the same age, if not the same age as the neighbor. And she ended up telling her neighbor, you know, I've been talking to some guy online. I met this amazing guy online. We're going to have a winter wedding with roses, and we're going to have children. And we've been thinking about our children's names. And her neighbor was really concerned that Gypsy was being, like, you know, used and abused by some predator, like not knowing her real age, you know. And the boyfriend she had been talking, this guy had become her boyfriend. So the guy she met him on a Christian singles, like, website or something, kind of like a Christian Mingle. I don't know if it was exactly that. She ended up meeting him there. So when she met him, his name was Nicholas Godian. I don't know how to say his name. It's going to be up here with the picture. But she ended up meeting Nicholas, and he was a man around her age from Big Bend, Wisconsin. So, yeah, they ended up meeting, they chatted, and it was kind of sparks and love. He had issues. He had a huge history with mental illness. And I think being the first like boyfriend situation that she had, it was not a good match. But she ended up meeting this guy and she was like in love with Nicholas. She thought he was like her whole world, you know? And she went on to date him and talk to him and just live her little life. And even though she knew he had mental illnesses and that he had multiple personality disorder and autism, she didn't really mind, and she kind of asserted herself to each of his personalities, and they did a lot of BDSM. Again, that's going to be up here. I don't exactly know what that is. Something sexual. And she dressed up a lot, and there was a lot of pictures of her dressing up for him. So at some point at this, you know, she's really in love with him. She knows her mother is never going to really let her be with him. So they plot this whole scheme of meeting each other for the first time. And he's going to go to the movies. You know, she can't really go anywhere because her mother's always like up her ass. So they're going to go to the movies and see the Cinderella movie. Hence the blue. And they're going to pretend like they don't know each other. Like they've met each other at this movie theater. They've, you know, instantly like want to chat. And she just wants to see if her mother will be okay with it. And wants him to meet her mother and hope that her mother likes him and they can all be a happy family. So, they end up running into each other there. And Dee Dee doesn't really like him. Like, she's like, what the heck? You know, I kind of see her point, though. Like, this weird dude came here by himself to see Cinderella. So, it doesn't really like him. And, Gypsy invites him. So, they watch the movie and whatever together. And that's kind of that. Midway through, that doesn't explain how Gypsy ends up getting away from... The two of them end up getting away from Dee Dee. I'm assuming because Dee Dee was on heavy sleeping pills. That's how Gypsy would be able to do whatever she wanted at nighttime. I'm assuming that maybe she just didn't sleep well and she was on that sleeping pill. Maybe took the wrong medication. And, you know, slept through the movie. It was kind of boring for her. And that's when they snuck away and had sex in the male restroom. It was like their first encounter. And they went back like nothing ever happened. So, they were really hoping that if the plan was perfect, Dee Dee would have loved him, would have loved Nicholas, and, you know, would have opened him with welcome arms, and they would have been happily ever after together. But since that didn't work, Dee Dee at some point ordered Gypsy to stay away from Nicholas. That was not gonna work for him and her. So after time and time again of thinking of a way to get Dee Dee out, escape, run away, and stuff like that, they had two plans. It was one, I get pregnant and then eventually she'll accept him, or two, we murder my mom. She claims later on that she didn't actually believe that Nicholas would do it. So on June 9th, at nighttime, they had already been planning this for a while. Gypsy sends him money and sends Nicholas money. And on June 9th, he comes in. He stays on what hotel? He stays in a hotel, and he chills. And he waits for her and everything while she's at her appointments. Later on in the nighttime, he goes over. She's makes sure to tell him. Gypsy makes sure to tell Nicholas, be really quiet. The door's really squeaky. You don't want to make a lot of noise. She's ready. She's fine. She's in her room. So he goes over and everything. She has gloves for him. They had planned, I think, duct tape. And she has a knife, a red knife for him. So, because prior, they had a conversation, and I think this is what made Nicholas's trial so bad. Nicholas wanted to rape Dee Dee prior to murdering her. So, and so he wouldn't rape her. Gypsy offered herself instead. And, you know, she waited in the bathroom, and she waited and waited and waited as he stabbed her mother multiple times. she had screamed out for Gypsy, and she kept screaming out for Gypsy. And I find it kind of weird because this is like kind of the same way that her mother passed away. Her mother was screaming and screaming for her, like Dee Dee, Dee Dee, Dee Dee, before she passed away. And now your kid's doing the same shit to you. That's crazy to me. Anyway, so she was screaming for Gypsy. Gypsy didn't answer. Gypsy waited in the bathroom. She didn't see the body or anything. And Nicholas Gideon, whatever his name is, didn't let her see because he didn't want her to see her mother that way. They proceeded to clean everything off because Gideon ended up accidentally cutting himself while he was stabbing her to death. And cleaned up some of the house. Gypsy got rid of a lot of evidence that made it look like she lived there because she didn't want it to seem that way. And cleaned up a lot of his blood with some stain remover. And the happy, lovely couple went their merry way. They left the house. They went to the I think it was Good Inn or Good Stay hotel or something like that. They went to a hotel and, yeah, they checked in. Oh, wait. I missed a step. After the murder, they proceeded to have sex. Lots of sex. They proceeded to have anal, oral, vaginal, all the sexes in her bedroom after he killed her mother. That's crazy. Then proceed to go to the hotel room and have more sex. They didn't really seem to care about this murder, for being real, like at all. It didn't bother them. And so they chilled there for some days to figure out what their next plan would be. And that being said, they ended up going back to, Nicholas's house, and where he told his mother and his family that she had been kicked out of her house. She's homeless. She has nowhere to go. And they basically accepted her, and they were cool. They didn't try to be mean to her, and it was what it was. So later on, a few days later had passed, on the 15th of June. At this point, they were looking at the news, trying to check it out, see what's up, and they weren't seeing anything. So that meant like nobody found Dee Dee, and Gypsy started to feel a little bit guilty. Like, nobody found my dead fucking mother. I killed her, and nobody has found her yet. So she started to feel guilty about it. And that's when, at this point, her and Nicholas decided to write on the conjointed Facebook that Gypsy and Dee Dee had, that bitch is dead. And when they wrote that, their Facebook, Dee Dee's, like, the Facebook friends they had combined, started to freak out a little bit. Like, what are you watching? What is that? What happened? Like, are you hacked? They initially thought that she got hacked. And then they stated, I can't speak. They posted something else saying, and I raped her innocent, sweet daughter, or something like that. And that's when, the Blanchards, they were not related to Dee Dee at all, which I find funny. Not funny, but it's just such a coincidence. The Blanchards, Mr. and Mrs. Blanchard, that lived next door, that again weren't related, they went to their house, kind of looked through everything. They noticed that the wheelchair was still there. They noticed that the car was there. It was just really weird. Nobody's coming to the door. So they called the police to investigate. They said, we have a neighbor that's a single mother, and she has a sick, ill daughter, and nobody's like, some suspicious stuff has gone on. Police said, okay, they knew who they were, so they went over there. And, yeah, they did a little investigation, and they ended up finding Miss Blanchard, Dee Dee Blanchard, fucking dead. So at this point, they're like, whoa, everybody's in shock, like the golden mother, like, what happened, bro? And it's just a huge shock to freaking everybody in this community. They don't know what to do. And they're all still thinking that Gypsy's missing at this point. They don't know what to do about it. And The police tracks the IP address, you know, your IP internet address of where this status came from, what computer it was on, and they were able to track Nicholas's house. They were also able to track all of their moves the same day they freaking killed Dee Dee. And that was kind of it on that aspect. Then they arrested them, and that's when Dee Dee tried to poorly act like Gypsy tried to poorly act like she didn't know what the hell happened to her mom. Like, my mom's dead. Like, she really tried it. But Nicholas, on the other hand, I think because he's autistic and just mentally not all there, he spit it out right away. He was manipulated into it, and they really got all the truth out of him. And that was kind of how it went down. And then later on, they're like, you know, we already know the truth to Gypsy, and she was forced to basically say the truth. Since she didn't commit the murder, they didn't really give her much time, if any. She's going to get out at some point. And that was kind of how it happened, you know. He stabbed her mother. They killed her together. I'm going to say together because she came up with this whole scene, you know. And so they both had, the two, Gideon and Gypsy, had $1 million bond, and they were both in prison for this. And her sentence was much quicker. Everything ended for her much quicker. I don't know why. I think because, in my opinion, because of everything that happened. But in July of 2015, she accepted a plea bargain agreement and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And for Gideon, for Nicholas, it was a little bit harder. And she was not required to testify against him. It was a little bit harder for him. In January of 2017, his trial was postponed when prosecutors requested a second exam. His lawyers contended that he has intellectual equivalence of 82, I don't know what that means, and is on the autism spectrum. So they basically said he's not, this homeboy is not doing so hot, mentally not all there, after they did another test. And they were suggesting that he has diminished capacity. He had initially waived his right to trial by jury, but changed his mind in June of that year. So by December 2017, the judge set Nicholas's trial for November 2018. In their opening, prosecutors, this took them hours and with like days. It took about 4 days, and within 2 hours of the last day, they were able to, the jurors were able to make a decision whether it would be in between involuntary manslaughter, second-degree murder, and first-degree murder. After approximately 2 hours of deliberation, they returned with the verdict that Gideon was found guilty of first-degree murder and armed criminal action. And then in February of 2019, he was sentenced to life in prison for the murder conviction, the only possible option, and since prosecutors had declined to seek the death penalty. So people weren't willing to give him the death penalty, which I agree with. They weren't willing to give him the death penalty, but they sure as hell gave him life in prison. And he seems okay with it, honestly. I've watched recent videos of him, and he seems okay. And that's kind of the whole, pretty much the story of, you know, the killing of Dee Dee Blanchard. And they say now that, I was reading now that Gypsy is engaged again to like a whole nother person, and she believes that that Nicholas was just weirdo, and I don't believe her when she says that. I believe she actually loved him. That being said, look at this pretty color. That being said, she did go on to say, you know, I really didn't think he was gonna murder her. And he actually did it. It's like, well, you didn't think so, but you didn't do anything to stop the murder, sis. But that's pretty much the whole story. I do want to elaborate, you know, this conclusion time while I finish the makeup look. I am honestly, with this whole story of Dee Dee Blanchard, I am appalled, really, because, let me find my little note. After all of the doctors they went to several freaking doctors, and nobody questioned. That appalls me. It kind of scares me a little bit, because doctors, hundreds of doctors, we're not talking like 2 doctors that she went to over time. We're talking hundreds of doctors that this girl went to, and nobody could say like, by the way, she doesn't have shit. And then when they did have somebody that said that, was Bernardino Flasterstein. He was a pediatric neurologist. He saw Gypsy in Springfield, and he became really suspicious of her muscular dystrophy diagnosis. He ordered MRIs and blood tests, which he found that she had nothing wrong with her. God damn it. He figured out she had no abnormal, I can't say that word. What's that word? Abnormal. You know what I mean. She had nothing wrong with her. Sis was fine. And he even asked her to walk and everything, and realized that she could stand perfectly fine with her weight. And at this point, he spoke with other colleagues, and they were like, you know, this is the Golden family. You kind of have to hold them with golden gloves. Just, it's fine. You know, all of these doctors are, she's fine. So he didn't complain. And then later on, in, I think it was 2014, maybe. I'm not exactly sure on the year. Later on, Dee Dee had a mysterious call on her to the police. Excuse me, that she was lying about her records, and that Gypsy wasn't as sick as she made her. So then that happened. The police went over there to investigate, and they basically believed her story of, oh, my husband, you know, I given all these fake names and stuff, and I lied because, you know, she really is sick, but my ex-husband is really abusive, which he wasn't, and that's why I have to lie. So that basically is what she told them, and they fell for it, because, you know, she's the queen bee of the, don't judge me, I'll put my foundation on normal. She basically, Dee Dee and Gypsy were basically the whole town's, like, you know, golden family, so they believed her, and they went on with their merry way, and they didn't look into it, and the case was closed. That being said, I hate that a doctor was told, don't look into it, doesn't matter. You know, they're a golden family, they're not lying. She's been dealing with this her whole life, she's fine. That really pisses me off, because this is clearly a case of, I'm not exactly sure how to say this. What is the code? Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which is a mental health disorder where a caregiver or a parent gives or worsens a child or an adult that's disabled conditions. And that is 100% what happened here. It was a huge case of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, MSBP. It was a huge case of that, and nobody caught on to it but this one doctor, and then he was basically told, like, let it go, and all his instincts went out the window. So that really pisses me off, because I just feel like Gypsy was failed by so many people, you know? So many people could have helped that poor girl, and they didn't. They kind of overlooked it because of this golden title that her mother had. Shit sucks, in my opinion. And I don't think, in my opinion, 100%, I don't think that she should have gotten any prison time. I really think homegirl really needs to be in a psych ward for more than 10 years or whatever years she's doing right now. She needs to be in a psych ward, and she needs therapy. I'm talking daily therapy. She's not right in the head either. And I think the same thing for Nicholas. He killed somebody because he loved somebody. I think homeboy shouldn't, and it has been proven that he's just not mentally there. I think he needs to be in a psych ward as well. I think his case needs to be reevaluated. I hope, he seems like he maybe is doing well in prison. He seems like he's not bothered. He would have done this all again. He mentioned that. If he had to rethink it, he would probably just maybe hit it better, and they probably wouldn't have said anything. But yeah, he still talks about how he loves Gypsy and how he's never had a feeling like that before, and she's moved on with her freaking life. You killed somebody for her, and she moved on. She don't care, bro. Moved on. See, this is why women are dirty. Man, he killed a whole ass person for you and your freedom, miss. And you just over here moving on, living your life. You're gonna get out of jail. He's not. Oh, God, that's so depressing to me. I wanted to talk about this one. I'm looking for this one quote that Gypsy said in her. Crap. Got so many papers. Let me find it. It's my other paper. Oh my God. It's my other papers. I'm coming. Hold on. I can't find my situation shit. I want to fast forward through this part. It was right in front of me this whole time. Sorry, guys. I'm back. Anyways, I did want to talk about this quote that Gypsy did say on January 4th in 2018 during an interview. She said, "I feel like I'm free in prison than when I was living with my mom, because now I'm allowed to just live like a normal woman." I don't know about you guys, but for me, her saying something like that triggers me because, bro, nobody should be okay with living in prison. Like, that shouldn't be a better life for them. You feel me? Like, whoa. I don't know. I really think about the fact that, like, nobody did anything to help this girl. I feel like so many people failed her, and then now she's sitting in a prison cell thinking that that's a better life for her. Like this, how do you guys feel? Because I just genuinely feel like she shouldn't be spending her time in prison. She should be spending her time in a psych ward. She should be getting mentally better and getting help and not be able to go online and have pen pals and stuff, because, bro, you literally killed somebody with somebody else. Like, the whole thing is just crazy to me. And I don't know if any of those doctors still have their licenses, but I hate to say this, but in my opinion, any doctor that poor girl had, or surgeon, should have their license revoked. Because she didn't have shit. It's crazy to me. Put eyeliner, yeah. It's insane to me that this girl had nothing this whole time. And nobody did anything. I don't know. What do you guys feel? Do you guys think that she should be in prison right now? I just want open communication on what you guys feel, because I genuinely don't. I don't think she should be free in the world. I don't think she should be let go. I don't even think 10 years is enough time to really sit and be mentally okay. And I get that she's, moved on and whatever, but I dropped my eyeliner kit. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't think that that's enough time. And as for Nicholas, I don't think he should be in the world either, but I just definitely don't think prison is the place for him. I know he killed somebody, but again, I think this is another case of a psych ward situation. I think both of them need freaking help. And I don't know if prison will give them the help that they so rightfully need. I would like to say I do wish both families the condolences that they deserve. You know, their lives have been impacted. Everybody knows who they freaking are based on this. Like, imagine living your life being the, oh, was it your son who committed this? I'd be mortified. But that being said, yeah, I would love to hear you guys' responses, like, on this story. What do you guys think should have happened to Gypsy and Nicholas? What should the outcome have been? I stand strict on the point that I really feel like these two need some therapy. I also stand very strong on the point that I don't feel like she should be in jail. It's just me, though. But I'm going to put this lipstick on. It's called Teddy Bear from Lime Crime. And I'm also going to put lashes on. And some highlight. And some rhinestones. Ooh, they fell off camera. And I will be right back. So that was for today's video. I want to know your guys' opinions down below. I want to know what you guys feel, what you think about this case. Your opinions are very important to me. Let's have a little friendly, healthy conversation about it. Whether we disagree or agree, everybody, let's be really cool and collective in the comments, and let's hear each other out. Anyways, yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, even though it was kind of disorganized because your girl was nervous. Yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, the look, and just watching me get ready with the look. So yeah, I will be posting this look on Instagram. I really like it. Manny MUA kills it with his palettes. These lashes are Chiffon by Kiss, I think, or Lash Couture. I don't know if that's a Kiss brand. Anyways, but yeah, these are these lashes. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and I will be back next Friday. Again, happy Friday, and see you guys later. Bye.